I wish that they would know that, like, we're just like them. Not all of us wear our identities on our sleeve. Not that there's anything wrong with that. There's so much more than what you just read online. Get to know a queer person if you really, would like to, if you're from the other side.
We are so happy to have you here. Someone who works for a non-profit called as Qweerty Gamers, and we know that you provide visibility to LGBTQ gamers in the broader gaming world. But we'd love to know more about your non-profit from you.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, Qweerty Gamers is a 501c3 LGBTQ gamer nonprofit, which is a mouthful. We champion the inclusion of LGBTQ gamers, developers, content creators into the broader gaming world. We also throw free events that help folks network either with others in the gaming industry or just other fans. We also provide consulting work for, right now we have a transgender representation consultant that is available to give you consultation. We will be providing those services free to our grant recipients.
So you do so many things for folks in the community and for gamers in general. So just out of curiosity, what was your motivation to work for this cause?
Yeah, well, I'm queer, and I'm also a video gamer. I also know that the world of gaming in the professional environment and in the industry could be somewhat homogenous. It's especially in the United States. A lot of folks are white, male, straight. So you don't see a lot of diversity. When you do, those folks have gone through a lot. Having to educate folks I've worked with throughout the ages on things that aren't even specifically pertaining to queer folks. I had to educate a coworker about like how it is to be Black in the community, and I'm not Black. So I did the work for my peers who are Black so that they wouldn't have to. And so I can only imagine what work may have been done on my behalf. The mental labor of kind of educating folks on how to treat others, which is a little weird that you have to learn how to treat others. So I'm here to just help kind of be that ambassador between the two communities, kind of like a bridge. And I think that's really the only way that folks change their mind is when you meet somebody that's like that. Not necessarily, if it all stays homogenous, you're never going to really be exposed to those different ways of thinking.
So as you mentioned that you work at that bridge between people from these communities, right? So what are some challenges that you face as this bridge?
Yeah, I would have to point out to the obvious, the trolls, of course, being a queer community online, there's a lot of anonymous hate that you get. I've gotten physical letters saying I'm going to burn in hell for all eternity, which I just laughed and I kept just in case, the authorities need it or something in the future. So I'd have to say just kind of the opposition is the hardest thing. I think also we get a little overzealous or ahead of ourselves in our own community, and we start gatekeeping and telling folks this is how you have to be, this is how you have to be, when really the community should be understanding and not kind of setting expectations when folks are brand new to the community, especially non-queer folks. You don't want to alienate people and you want them to understand, and if you start arguing with someone or telling them they're dumb for not understanding something about your community, they're not going to want to change or they're not going to want to be part. So I think another challenge is making sure you're not militant, you're not just being super negative. It's all about welcoming other people into the broader coalition of this community.
Just pride itself, right? It goes way back. It goes beyond the Stonewall riots as well. It was a fight for equality. It was activism. It was about radical love. And over the years, people have evolved, people have changed, people have learned. So, uh, for you, what is the meaning of pride? How do you see pride in 2021?
So it's the first digital pride where it's not as negative. It's looking forward, not backward. Because last year it was the first digital pride, but it was a negative experience. We were all scared. People were getting sick. So I think pride in 2021 is really become kind of a safe pride because folks can come out more comfortably with their digital communities, especially in Qweerty. I'm seeing folks coming out as non-binary. Even after you come out, you're not always fully coming out. Some folks come out gay and then and then they come out trans, or some people come out trans, they already knew that they were trans to begin with. So it's right now, I think is a great time, not saying that anyone has to, but if you've built a community or you are part of a community, it's a good time to come out right now because it's just so positive and so welcoming.
So, as you mentioned, that a lot of folks are still questioning and they transition from one identity to another, right? So, what advice would you give to someone who is still hiding or is still um, confused or unsure and is going through that transition in their life?
I think it's also okay not to still be sure exactly what to call yourself or what you are. It's okay not to know what you are. It's okay not to come out immediately, especially in other parts of the world and other parts of the US, especially where it's not as welcoming, especially if your family's not okay with it. Do what's best to keep yourself safe. And including, like how I said earlier, if you don't feel safe coming out digitally even, don't. But just know that there are communities out there like Qweerty that will support you. There are tons of LGBTQ centers that will provide counseling, sometimes for free, sometimes through whatever health benefits you might have, either through your employer, your state, your family.
So, as you mentioned, all these things that folks can do to seek help, looking at it from the other side, what are few things that you wish people knew about the community, which would make transition or just life for them a little simpler, a little easier?
I wish that they would know that, like, we're just like them. Um, not all of us wear our identities on our sleeve. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Just there's so much more than what you just read online. Get to know a queer person if you really, would like to, if you're from the other side.
I remember you mentioned that you live in LA, which is a very diverse place, right? You have people from all identities, colors, and backgrounds, and all of that, right? So, living in a place like that, do you still face discrimination in the place that you live in or professionally? And how have you learned to tackle that?
Yeah, I've definitely felt discrimination or faced discrimination in LA. There's still a lot of conservative people here. There's also folks who aren't, how would I say, able-minded.
So, just about all the things you mentioned that you've faced and people face, how can someone who want to be an authentic ally start their journey for allyship?
For me, what I feel being an ally is challenging my own perception and thoughts of what it is to be queer, and what is acceptable, and coming to me when they have a concern about how they approach something.
Lastly, do you have a favorite quotation that you stand by? It's something that got you through hard times.
Don't let anyone ever tell you you're too old for something. And I think that really applies to video games, especially folks who might think that video games are, something for kids. And really, it's an extension of the human experience and a way to tell stories